Well, very good to be with you, Dan. You're right. This is a big question that still remains. I'm not sure we'll ever have total transparency on the issue. But yes, the government of Theresa May started this issue, and the Boris Johnson government then continued it right up until yesterday. That is the involvement of the Chinese firm Huawei in the provision of the 5G and other networks in the UK. There are quite a lot of mysteries about this. One is that there are companies, including at least two American companies, who could provide more than provide the same technology and the same technological expertise as Huawei claimed to do. And what's more, without the significant security threat that all of our partners stressed existed if Huawei were the firm involved. This is the truly baffling bit, is that, as your listeners will know, Great Britain is one of the members of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing network. And the Five Eyes network is the world's best. It involves the English-speaking countries, the United Kingdom, the United States of America, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia. And we have an enormous intelligence sharing capability. And one of the things that was so striking about this whole business of Huawei was that our partners, not least the Australians, who have had very serious and first-hand experience of Chinese bullying, not to put it too strongly, in recent years, warned the United Kingdom not to go with Huawei. They said this is not a secure thing. It will give what is a Chinese state-controlled entity insight into almost everything that goes on in the UK if it goes on online. And these warnings were repeatedly, serially ignored. Now, I should just stress one other thing, which is that there was briefing that has been going on for more than a year now from people surrounding the intelligence services in the UK, saying that this warning wasn't being ignored, but that our own intelligence agencies in the UK were confident that they had insight into what Huawei would be doing and would be able to basically get the eyes on the situation that they required, and therefore it wasn't this risk. But still, this big question was, but why even take that risk in the first place? And that is a question that I think we still don't know the answer to.
And now, Douglas, it really feels like it was only the terrible Chinese Communist government's cover-up of the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then their despicable behaviour in terms of removing democracy as much as possible from Hong Kong that made it possible in a way, or made it impossible for Boris Johnson and Dominic Raab to ignore the hawks like IDS in the Tory party.
Well, there is something I should stress, by the way. I never like the term hawks because if you get into hawks and doves, everyone would prefer to be a dove than a hawk in some ways, wouldn't they? But yet, it isn't hawkishness so much as just clear-sightedness on this problem. You know, and that's what Ian Duncan Smith and other people in the Conservative benches in particular rightfully were warning the government about from the beginning. And there's something else about this which is very important. You just mentioned quite rightly this issue of, you know, the way in which Corona has sort of revealed something about Chinese state. It is very important, this, and historically will go down as one of the most important shifts in Western relations with China. The historian Neil Ferguson, a very distinguished historian, some time ago said something very interesting about this. He said, COVID, the coronavirus, is very similar in Chinese history to what happened in the Soviet Union when a certain very famous nuclear reactor went melted down. Now, you see, if indeed Corona is China's Chernobyl, it may well be for this reason, which is that it revealed something that the closed state in question had been trying to hide from the world about itself, about arguably its incompetence, or, if it isn't incompetence in the case of China, something much worse. which is that it knew that the virus was out, whether it was out from the wet market, which was the first explanation, or out of a Chinese laboratory in Wuhan, which many people, including some intelligence agencies, think. Nevertheless, China lied to the world. It disappeared scientists. It revealed itself as what it is, which is a totalitarian state which has many extraordinary financial benefits around and spreads its largesse around the world in its desire to become world number one. But it also behaves in the way the state run by the Communist Party that runs it would behave. It covers up. It seeks to hide its embarrassments. And in so doing, it has given the world this disastrous virus, which has been immiserating our economies and which we'll all be living with for years to come.
Yeah, and I don't think the British public now will forgive the Chinese government for that, whereas I think previously, being totally honest, most of us heard the term or the word Huawei and we got a bit bored, and something happened with COVID-19 and those images of the wet markets, and given it's affected our lives so badly, I think our public opinion has very much hardened.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting as well, isn't it, that in America, Donald Trump and his Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, have been warning for years about China's, among other things, ability to steal sectors of the American economy. Many people, as you know, in British and American firms have for years been trying to raise the alarm about the theft of information on an unbelievable scale by China and Chinese state-run companies. They have tried for years to highlight the mass copyright theft, one of the biggest thefts in history. And basically the public, we weren't all that engaged in it. In America, people were engaged because they had been for some years presented accurately, as it turns out, with the fact that China, in seeking to usurp America as the world's sort of superpower, was stealing American jobs and whole sectors of the American economy. So the American public were well primed for this moment. I think the British public, by and large, this has been off our radar for some time. Yeah. We've had other issues. But the combination of the virus from Wuhan, the way in which the Communist Party of China has covered this up, and then the behavior of the Chinese authorities in Hong Kong is indeed a way in which I think that we all in the general public are going to be increasingly realizing this may be a state power that we need to do business with, but it is not a desirable partner. And we should, to any extent that we can, be disentangling ourselves, particularly our most sensitive parts of our infrastructure, from anything that can be controlled by the Communist Party of China.
Douglas Murray, Associate Editor of The Spectator and author of The Madness of Crowds. It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
We say, and I ask you to say with us, lift up your voices in this great meeting in the heart of England. And to all the world, a message, England lives and marches on.